political persecution and election interference at the highest level. Well, that's what former President Trump's, that was his response to the indictment. Outraged Republicans agreed with him, including former Vice President Mike Pence.
Trump is expected to be arraigned early next week. Meanwhile, the New York City Police Department is ordering every officer to report for duty this morning in preparation for protests. Matt Galka reports.
The indictment from the Manhattan grand jury makes Donald Trump the only current or former president ever to be charged with a crime. The investigation, led by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, centers around an alleged $130,000 hush money payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The payment allegedly made before the 2016 election over an alleged affair the former president denies. Trump responded in a lengthy statement that read in part, quote, "This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history." Trump's Vice President Mike Pence defended him on CNN shortly after the news broke.
I think the unprecedented indictment of a former president of the United States on a campaign finance issue is an outrage. And it appears to millions of Americans to be nothing more than a political prosecution.
Other Republicans rushed to Trump's defense and targeted the DA's motives.
It's duplicitous charging. They're trying to smear the guy. They're trying to take cases that nobody else would take and resurrect them. This is literally legal voodoo.
I think the Democrats know this has nothing to do with the law. They're sending a message, and the message is they will use any power that they have to interfere in the next presidential election.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeting out a promise to hold Bragg accountable. Meanwhile, some Democrats preached patience. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeting, "Mr. Trump is subject to the same laws as every American. There should be no outside political influence, intimidation, or interference in the case." The indictment remains sealed, meaning the exact charges are still unknown. The former president and the leading GOP candidate for 2024 is expected to turn himself in next week with an arraignment Tuesday. The New York Police Department is increasing security in anticipation of possible protests. Matt Galka, CBN News.
Well, CBN chief political analyst David Brody joins us for more. So, David, some say this actually helps Trump, that his mugshot could become a campaign poster. Others say it hurts him. What's your take?
There's no doubt it helps him, Gordon. It helps him tremendously. I mean, it's interesting. The left all along has been obsessed with President Trump. They've wanted to get him from day one. And in the process, what they're doing here with what happened with this indictment to make it all about Trump is it's actually become nothing about Trump now. Donald Trump has now become a symbol for the weaponization of the federal government, not just against Trump. That's the micro. The macro here is, what about the pro-lifers that were basically persecuted under the FACE Act, which CBN has done a lot of reporting on, from a Justice Department that went after them but didn't go after the arsonists that burned down pregnancy clinics? What about the parents at school boards as it relates to the weaponization of the federal government and the fact that they have been targeted as well? We can go on and on about even the folks that were put in jail for January 6th, who haven't had a bond hearing in 2 years. I mean, the list goes on, Gordon. So Donald Trump has now become a symbol for all of this. And what the left intended for bad could actually be very good for Donald Trump.
Well, let's talk about the underlying crime that's being alleged here. The indictment hasn't been unsealed. So can you give us any insight? What are they going to charge him with?
Well, they're trying by some jujitsu here, some sort of felony that Donald Trump may have committed under campaign finance violations. It starts with misdemeanors. Most likely, we're looking at falsifying business records. We're hearing potentially 34 counts of that. We don't know if that's the case specifically. No one's really seen the indictment, but that's the sense of it. And of course, 34 counts doesn't necessarily mean 34 individual counts. It could be multiple accounts on just a couple of different falsifying of business records. But that's a misdemeanor. And honestly, in New York New York court law, misdemeanors are done with after a 2-year statute of limitations. It's been past 2 years. I mean, the Justice Department did not prosecute this case. The former head of the Federal Election Commission said this was sketchy at best. But now Alvin Bragg is going ahead and going forward with this. So this is all misdemeanor stuff. The felony part, Gordon, the part what they're trying to do here is say that Donald Trump, in essence, was paying that hush money payment because of the election. It was directly related to his chances in the 2016 election. The problem is you have to prove intent. And it's very hard, as you know, Gordon, to prove intent, and even more so with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump puts very few things in email or text.
Well, I've got to ask, does the Manhattan DA have the authority to charge on a federal election law violation?
Well, that's exactly the problem here. A lot of even left-leaning attorneys are saying he may be beyond his scope, actually. And so there is some views, especially, like I said, by liberal-leaning attorneys that say that he's way over his skis here and shouldn't even be in this situation to begin with. Remember, Cyrus Vance, the former Manhattan DA, decided not to do this. As a matter of fact, Alvin Bragg himself wasn't going to do this until someone had written a book. It was someone that was against Donald Trump and saw the whole outline of a case against Trump, and Bragg then decided to pursue the case. So there's a myriad of problems here, Gordon.
Well, let's walk us through the technicalities, if you will, of the arraignment. Is he going to be fingerprinted? Is he going to have a mugshot? Are they going to take him away in handcuffs? What is his surrender? What's this going to look like?
There is, well, first of all, he will be fingerprinted. I mean, if it's a felony in New York, I mean, that's the standard procedure. Now, of course, with Donald Trump and standard, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. There's no expectation that there's going to be any sort of handcuff video, or, we see all these AI, artificial intelligence. Be wary of that, right? I mean, you're going to see all sorts of crazy images out there. There's no expectation that is going to happen. My guess is it'll be through some sort of side door, and he won't be necessarily seen in public. There might be a walk shot, but nothing with handcuffs at all. But yes, will there be a mugshot? There will be a mugshot. And you know what? Donald Trump, let's be honest, Gordon, Donald Trump wants that mugshot. Because it will not only be, in essence, a boon for him politically, but let's be honest, Alvin Bragg is no longer Manhattan DA, if you think about it. He's Donald Trump's chief fundraiser. And I think that is going to be the key here, especially with that mugshot. It'll be a mugshot seen around the world. Not since Nick Nolte. Just kidding. I dated myself. All
right, you did. Anyway, back to the legal matter with Trump. What does this charge do for the Georgia prosecution? They've got a grand jury down there looking at election interference. What does it do to the Department of Justice looking at top secret documents, classified documents, all of this kind of thing? All of these allegations that are swirling around them, does all of that take a back seat right now, or do those prosecutions move forward?
Well, they're moving forward. There's no doubt. And you're right. Those two, especially the one in Georgia, may come a decision on that may come later this spring. And of course, that's talking about potential racketeering charges, getting involved in trying to overturn the 2020 election through phone calls down in Georgia into that state. But they're moving forward with that. Here's the problem. It already looks political. It already looks like a weaponization. And then you're going to, in essence, pile on with Georgia, potentially pile on the federal issue as well regarding those documents down at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, the whole thing kind of works for Donald Trump, quite frankly, and it doesn't bode well for people that at this point would want to, in essence, like I say, pile on to even more of this.
All right, let's play it forward, and that's it. It's a very Democrat city. You got a Democrat prosecutor. I assume you're going to have a Democrat jury. What if he's convicted? Can he still run for president with that conviction? Can he run for president from jail?
Well, that's a great question. I don't have an answer to that. I'll be honest with you. I know this. He's going to run for president while this is going on. And I will even say, go a step further and say, there is no expectation that this will end before the 2024 election. I mean, they're going to drag this out. If it actually went to trial, let's remember, the judge could throw it out, Gordon. It might not even get to trial. But if it does get to trial, the expectation is this will be done after the 2024 presidential race. So I don't see any sort of jail time or conviction coming before that.
All right. Well, David, thanks for the insight. And this is a wild time in American political